So we got new support in the new box. We got a new Xyz monster in Utopia Rate V. We got a new rank up magic. But the best support that we got for Utopias in the new box is the skill. The skill that lets us search rank up magic and have a much more easy access to old monsters like Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray, but we'll talk about what that card does later. For now, let's talk about the other cards one by one. First off, we have Pegasus Twin Saber. This is one of the Zexal weapons. It allows us to negate opponent's monster's effects once per turn if it's equipped to your boss monster. Next is, let's go over all the Zexal weapons first before we go over the other stuff. Zexal weapon, Lightning Blade, when it is equipped to your Utopia, that monster cannot be destroyed, all your Zexal weapons cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is really strong. It protects your equipped spells from being destroyed by back removal like MST, and if a monster equipped by this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can destroy this card instead. So it protects your monsters from stuff like a Dark Hole. Next is Tornado Bringer. Monsters that this card is equipped to cannot be targeted by card effects. So with both Bringer and Lightning Blade equipped to your boss monster, it cannot be targeted. It cannot be destroyed by card effects for one time, and also your equipped spells are protected from your opponent's back removal. And for our other monsters, we're playing a V Salamander. It works really well with the skill. When this card is normal summoned, you can revive a Utopia monster from a graveyard. You can target a Utopia Ray V control, equip this monster to that target. Once per turn, if it's equipped to a monster, you can detach one material from the equipped monster, negate the equipped monster's effects, but destroy all monsters your opponent controls, and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed by this effect. This is basically a one-card starter because of our skill. The skill basically lets us place Utopia in our graveyard by revealing the V Salamander in our hand, and also it's a really good board wipe. Next is a whole bunch of Tenyis. Even though we were playing Utopias, we need level 4 monsters that can special summon themselves, so we were just playing a whole bunch of Tenyis. Tenyis are probably the cheapest level 4 monsters that could special summon themselves, and they also come from the same box, so it's really good for that purpose. We're playing 3 of the Fire Tenyi, 3 Wind Tenyi, and 3 Water Tenyi. We won't use their other effect, we're only going to use the effect that lets them special summon themselves if you control no effect monsters. So what you do is you special summon any of the Tenyis when you have no monsters on your field, and you normal summon the other one, and now you have 2 level 4 monsters, and you can make a rank 4 Xyz monster. For our back row, we're playing 2 Cosmic, 3 copies of Xyz import. You can target an Xyz monster you control plus an opponent's monster with less attack than that monster, and then you attach that opponent's monster to your own Xyz monster as a material. It's a pretty good removal. And finally, of course, we have 1 copy of Rank Up Magic Limited Baron's Fools. It's searchable with our skill. It lets us target a rank 4 Xyz and then special summon a rank 5 Xyz that has the name number C on top of that Xyz monster as a material. And you also attach materials to that monster. That is our main way of getting both Utopia Ray V and ultimately Utopia Ray to our field without needing any level 5 monsters. For the extra deck, we're playing all Xyz monsters because this is an Xyz deck. We have number C39, Utopia Ray V. We'll make that using the rank up magic on our Utopia. And when this card is destroyed by opponent, you can target an Xyz monster in your graveyard, return that target back to the extra deck. And if this card has a Utopia monster as material, which it always will have, you gain this effect. Once per turn, you can detach one, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that monster, and if it's face up, you inflict damage equal to half that monster's attack. You sometimes won't use that effect because if you have V Salamander, you will instead use the effect of V Salamander to blow up your opponent's entire board instead of only just one monster. And we're playing a copy of Ultimately Utopia Ray. This is actually the main boss monster of the deck. It's not Utopia Ray V, because this monster gives us access to all the Zexal weapons we are playing in our deck, and also it's a negate. so it's pretty good. Once per turn, you can detach one to equip a Zexal weapon monster from your deck or extra deck to itself, and then this effect cannot be negated. Once per turn, while this card is equipped with a Zexal weapon, you can detach one as a quick effect to negate a effect monster's effect and then half its attack permanently. So it is a really good negate, and if you already have Pegasus Twin Saber equipped, that is 2 negates. A single boss monster with 2 negates is pretty strong, and if you also have other Zexal weapons like Tornado Bringer, it cannot be targeted, and Lightning Blade, and cannot be destroyed by card effects once, and protects your equipped spells as well, and that is a pretty tough boss monster to get rid of. And also don't forget that it also gains attack when you equip monsters with Zexal weapons. For example, Twin Saber will gain 1000 attack. If you equip Tornado Bringer, it gains 1200. So it's gonna have quite a bit of attack. And if you're going for an OTK, you can equip next card, Zexal Weapon Leo Arms from our extra deck, and our monster will gain 3000 attack, and also it has the ability to attack monsters twice if you want to. And yeah, you usually won't summon this card, it's just in the extra deck for us to equip, but if you manage to summon it, for some reason, you could detach one to add a Zexal weapon to your hand. Next is Dark Rebellion, just a good generic rank 4. You probably know what that does already. Utopia, we won't use its effect, it's just a generic rank 4 for us to make the level 5, the rank 5 Xyz monsters. And finally, we have 2 copies of Castel. It's probably the new best rank 4 in the entire game, going second. It needs 2 level 4 monsters, detach 1 to flip a monster face down, or you can detach 2 to shuffle a face-up card back to the deck. It's basically just Malevolent Sin but better. Let's talk about our skill. It's the skill that makes everything work. Honestly, the skill has a couple of effects, but the third one is the main one, because the first 2 one requires you to have a V Salamander in your hand to actually be useful. The third effect is that if you control Utopia, you can set a limited Baron's Force directly from your deck or graveyard. So basically, if you have access to 2 level 4 monsters, you can make Utopia, set your limited Barons, and then immediately make your ultimate Leo Arms. And also, remember that if you use the skill, you can only special summon Utopia monsters and monsters with level or rank 4, so you can't really play any other things other than level or rank 4 monsters and your rank 5 Utopia monsters. And okay, let's talk about the first 2 effects, which makes V Salamander a 1-card starter. The first effect is you can reveal a V Salamander in your hand, and then you basically put Utopia from outside your deck into your graveyard for it to have a target to summon. And the second one is more like a backup option. If your main combo plan gets disrupted by your opponent, you can use the second effect to return up to 2 cards from your deck, from your hand or monster zone. And then if you have no monsters on your field, you can normal summon a V Salamander in addition to your normal summon or set this turn. So what you do is, for example, if you have 2 Tenyis in your hand plus a V Salamander, you're gonna special summon your Tenyi, normal summon your other Tenyi, and let's say your opponent has Book of Moon. They flip one of your monsters face down, and now you can't make a rank 4 monster. What you do is you activate your second skill, you return the Tenyis that are flipped face down back to the deck, and then now you could normal summon your V Salamander, and that's a 1-card combo, and now you can still make your Xyz monsters that way. Okay, here is the expensive version of the deck. There are quite a bit of ways you can play this deck, because this deck works with any level 4 monsters. I tried playing with the fish version, so like playing a Buzzsaw Shark and a Beautiful Princess, because those are 1-card combos that give you rank 4 access, but I ended up with the Onomat version. If you have Onomat Pickup or Onomato Opera, that is a 1-card combo. Even though you need a discard, it's still basically a 1-card rank 4, and also, if you don't win that turn, during the next turn, if you have any one of the Onomat monsters, you can immediately make a rank 4 because Go Go Glove summons itself from the graveyard. And We're also playing a bit of staple back row like Book of Ruin and more copies of Cosmic. And for the extra deck, we are only playing one copy of Utopia Ray V. Realistically, we don't need to. We're also playing the other Utopia Ray plus the Leo Arms for us to equip. We're also playing the Rebellion and one Castell. And we're also playing Utopia, obviously. And for our other two rank 4s, we're playing Exciton Knight, which is a really good rank 4 if you have it. It is from a selection box, so not everyone has it. But if you have it, it's a pretty good card to play. It's a pretty strong option going second to just wipe your opponent's entire board. And also, I'm playing a copy of Direwolf. So if you have access to 2 level 4 monsters plus V Salamander, what this basically allows you to do is you can make a Direwolf and target one of your opponent's back row. It basically forces your opponent to activate the back row, and then if they do or if they don't, what you do next is you just normal summon V Salamander, and you can make your Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. So yeah, that's the basic idea. The game plan is basically the same. You're still trying to make the Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray turn 1 or even turn 2, because you can equip Leo Arms and just make it an enormous beater. But yeah, but we're using different cards to put level 4 monsters on the field, but the core mechanic is basically the same. And also, we're not playing the Twin Pegasus Zexal weapon because it's kind of a brick, and I'd rather just play more staples than and also more consistent cards than play another Zexal weapon, because it doesn't really do anything if you draw it. So yeah. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about this deck in general. So the consistency of this deck really depends on how you build a deck, because the deck doesn't really limit you on how many monsters or the ratios of monsters and macro you play. It only requires you to play level 4 rank 4 monsters. So the more level 4 monsters you play, the more consistent the deck will be. It really depends on how you want to build a deck, which style you're going for, if you're going for more consistency or if you're going for more disruptions. So for my free-to-play version, we're playing quite a bit of level 4 monsters, so consistency is not too big of an issue. But if you're trying to do some kind of one-card combo or stuff like that, and you're gonna play more other cards that are non level 4 rank 4 monsters, then you might run into consistency issues. And the second thing this deck is really, really good at is having a really strong boss monster that is really hard to out. Our main boss monster is Utopia Ray, the Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. It is really hard to out because, first of all, it has a once per turn negate if it is equipped with his Zexal weapon. Second of all, if you equip it with Tornado Breaker, it's not targetable. And third of all, if your opponent has a non-targeting destroying effect, you can still use Lightning Blade to protect it once. And if your opponent has back row removal, it needs to be non-destruction back row removal, something like a Cosmic Cyclone. Otherwise, if you have Lightning Blade, your equipped spells just cannot be destroyed. And also, if you have access to Pink's Twin Saber, that's 2 negates, so that's even more difficult for your opponent to basically do any sort of combos. And going second, we have access to Leo Arms, which is just a huge attack boost. It's a 3000 attack boost, and it allows you to basically OTK over everything. And so don't forget that Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray does half your opponent's monster's attack. So 6,000 attack monster or 5,500 attack monster that could half your opponent's attack could OTK anything that has a lower attack or equal attack than Blue Eyes White Dragon. And that's pretty strong. Okay, the concept of this deck is that this deck is really reliant on a single boss monster. So if your opponent has an out to that boss monster, you're pretty much screwed. This deck doesn't really have a good follow-up plan other than exactly V Salamander. So if you don't draw V Salamander, you're in a pretty rough position. And also, even though the skill effects are not once per duel, they're all once per turn. You can activate them as many times as you want, as long as the conditions fulfill. But the monsters that you could summon are limited. You have a limited space in your extra deck, you have a limited amount of materials you can use for your rank 4 summons, and that will hinder you in the long run. So this is basically a one-trick deck. Your opponent either has the out to your massive Utopia array, or they don't. And to be fair, it's pretty hard to out for most decks, and this deck could put that make that monster out consistently. But yeah, it really feels bad if your opponent doesn't have it out. And also this deck is a lot worse going second if your opponent has any kind of disruption to prevent you from making your big boss monster in the first place. That will basically lose you the game. But anyway, let's have a look at the replays. First off is a Trek Star player, and we are going first. And this deck really needs to go first, otherwise this deck is really vulnerable to any sort of disruption. But if we go first, we have a equip spell that protects us from target protection, and that will go a long way to ensuring that our boss monster doesn't die to a single disruption. We're gonna special summon a Tenyi, normal summon the other Tenyi, make a rank 4, use our skill to set the rank up magic, and we're gonna rank our Utopia up to make ourselves the ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. We're gonna detach one, equip the Lightning Braid, and then set the Tornado Bringer and equip it to our monster. We can't really equip Pegasus Twin Saber because that requires us to have 2,000 or less life points than our opponent, but we could just have 2 equipped spells, and that's pretty much enough most of the time. Our opponent's gonna do the Trickstar combo, they make Crimson Heart, gain a bit of life points, and now we could summon our Pegasus Twin Saber. He's gonna draw a couple of cards, and end turn because he can't really out our monster. With a Cosmic Cyclone, banish one of his back row. He Book of Wounds, but our monster cannot be targeted, so he's gonna book his own monster. We're gonna reduce his we're gonna equip a Leo Arms, attack his Link, but he has an out. He's gonna bounce his own Link to prevent himself from being OTK'd from a massive monster, but that is basically the end. He doesn't seem to have an out to my massive monster. Light Stage is a pretty good anti-back row, but it doesn't destroy, it just prevents you from activating effects, and he's trying to use Nightmare Phoenix, but it doesn't work because we have our other Lightning Blade, and that stops him from destroying our equip spell, so he realizes that, and he's just gonna scoop. For our second game, we are also going first, and we're playing against Destiny Heroes, I think. And we also opened with a couple of Tenyis, plus a Zexal weapon that will be enough. We're gonna special summon one Tenyi, normal summon the other Tenyi, make Utopia, it's the same combo again, and then we're gonna activate our skill, set ourselves the rank up magic, use the rank up magic to make, of course, ultimately a Utopia Ray. I'm gonna skip that animation real quick, and then we're gonna activate the effect to again equip the Zexal weapon for our deck. This time we're gonna equip Pegasus Twin Saber because I'm feeling pretty confident. And also, Destiny Heroes have quite a bit of monster effects, so I kind of want to negate it twice. So we're gonna equip Twin Saber this time. We're gonna wait until he has a threatening monster effect. Nightmare Phoenix this time will be effective because we don't have Lightning Blade, so we're gonna negate it with our Twin Saber. And then he's gonna make another Link. He's gonna make a Unicorn this time. And he's gonna again target our back row. We're gonna negate this time with Utopia Ray. That's our second negate. This time also halving our opponent's attack permanently. He's going to fusion summon a copy of Dystopia using everything that he has. But our monster cannot be targeted because we have Tornado Bringer set. So he can only pop our back row, which means he doesn't have an out to our monster, and he realizes that, and he scoops as well. Okay, so this time we are using the expensive version of a deck, and you might realize by this point that a lot of our wins are just from our opponent not having an out to our big boss monster, and they just scooping after they realize that it is not targeted by, it cannot be targeted by card effects, and also you can't pop the equip with a card effect. In the expensive version, we have access to basically a 1-card combo plus a discard. We could make Utopia using the 2 onomats we have on the field. We're going to use our skill again to set the Baron's Force, activate it. We're going to make Utopia Ray. And we only are playing 2 Zexal weapons in this version, so we're gonna equip the other one from our deck, and then equip the one that we drew from our hand, and then set Cosmic and pass. Our opponent is playing Gandora. We're gonna try to negate the Silver Gadget, hoping that it ends their turn. But yeah, they can still get Gandora, so I don't know what I'm thinking, but it should be okay. He's gonna, yeah, make Gandora, pay a whole bunch of life points, banish everything, and hopefully we draw a monster, and we drew the best monster. We drew the best follow-up monster that we have in our deck. We're gonna summon back the Utopia that we sent using our skill, set the Baron's Force from our graveyard, make Utopia Ray V. He's gonna book our monster, preventing us from equipping our V Salamander to our monster. And we can just beat over his Gandora. He only has 2 cards in our hand, so he couldn't make a second Gandora, so he is also going to scoop. A good game.